Hello everyone and welcome back. It feels so good to finally be here. A new DPC season is underway, but before we jump into the video, I have a few things I'd like to say. First, if you'd like to catch any of these games live, head on over to Twitch. I stream them on my channel. You can also head over to the ESL Dota 2 channel since I can't cover every game. That'd be impossible. Links for everything are down below in the description. Second, a lot of time and effort do go into making these between myself and my editor. I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, maybe hit the like button on the video. Also, consider sending it to some friends, people you think might actually enjoy this type of stuff. But that's it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the NADPC Week 1 recap. For Monday, we have 5-man Midas versus Felt, and in typical NA fashion, we kicked the DPC off with some Division 2 Dota. Based on the drafts in our first game, 5-man Midas has some great teamfight potential. The Medusa got off to a really early start, and RL's Leshrac took a lot of early towers. Overall, this game felt like an outdraft, and after a few great pickoffs on the high ground, 5-man Midas took a pretty easy game 1 over Felt.
Lamar, losing Enrage and BKB at the same time, that's not great use of your time. In fact, you're just gonna die.
And in game 2, the drafts appeared to be the opposite as before. Felt made some great decisions and had a clear advantage in my eyes. This game was pretty close for a while. Both teams had some great fights in the mid game, but the Templar Assassin and the Storm Spirit pulled way too far ahead, and there was no stopping them the longer that this game went on. Felt decided to ignore the lanes of Barracks completely and just go straight for the throne to tie up this series 1-1.
Arrow will hit thanks to the Yule Scepter. Lives in trouble, Lives will die. And then outcatch RL, who's just in a difficult position.
In game 3, we get a really aggressive draft from 5-man Midas and a really greedy draft from Felt. The mid Batrider was playing active around the map, as well as the offlane OD and Enchantress, who grouped up to take some early towers for 5-man Midas. A couple of fast pickoffs for 5-man Midas allowed them to transition into an early Roshan, and after this, they really started to just take over the map, push their advantage. They farm for a little bit, but 5-man Midas pretty much walk into Felt's base like they own the place and close out this series 2-1.
Out comes Steel Porco, gets two-shot by the Arcane Orbs, and the GG is called. They're going to lose the Sonic one last time.
For Tuesday, we have the upper division Quincy Crew taking on Simply 2-Based and the lower division Team Magnus versus Electronic Boys. In game 1 of our first series, things kick off with a special guest appearance by none other than Mason on the side of Simply 2-Based. And this game started out really even, but Quincy Crew have a draft that scales so much better into the late game. Despite some really good fights and pickoffs early on by 2-Based, Quincy Crew still managed to get a lot more farm around the map. The mid-game fights heavily favored Quincy Crew as they took one final fight after securing Roshan, and they completely wiped 2-Based off the map, securing themselves game number 1.
Perfectly timed here as he fast off. There's the Ravage. Imperium does. Ollie goes down. Flea dying as well. They'll buy back over on the Legion. Mason trying to click away, trying to get himself a kill, but he's just going to end up falling.
In game 2, we got a really cool draft by Quincy Crew featuring a safe lane Shadow Fiend, one of my personal favorites. Quincy Crew were off to a much more aggressive start this game. They took 2 towers by just 7 minutes. 2-Based found a couple great kills, but really struggled to keep up with the cores on the side of Quincy Crew. Quincy Crew continued to press this advantage and charged right into the enemy base. Multiple duels from the Legion Commander helped secure kills, as well as claim a really clean game number 2 and close out this series 2-0 over Simply 2-Based.
He's trying to fight, but the jump forward again here coming out from Quinn. Can they take down Little Nick? They will, but they'll throw the IO back into the found. The GG gets called.
In game 1 of our second series, E-Boys were off to a great start in the lanes, finding lots of kills. However, they didn't really manage to pull too far ahead. The lanes ended very evenly in net worth, but E-Boys took their first real advantage after some great mid-game fights. The late game potential of the E-Boys draft really started to show as they dominated Team Magnus. E-Boys managed to close out game number 1 with a really sick Chronosphere Cataclysm combo.
Let's get the BKB off. He's going to turn with the Chronosphere, catching 2. That's going to be the Queen of Pain down, as well as the Jakiro.
In game number 2, we had an unfortunate start. The Gyrocopter for E-Boys disconnected and never made it back into the game. As a result, E-Boys were forced to play down 4v5, and the Ogre Magi stepped up as a new safe lane carry. Despite being down a player, E-Boys did play a pretty solid early game. However, the game quickly spiraled out of control for E-Boys as the pressure of just being down one player was too much. Team Magnus tie up the series in game number 2 with a fairly easy win.
BKB active by Mark, just looking to hit the throne. SF Illusion's making quick work, at least of 1, but there's now 2 dead ready and potentially even more.
In order to keep the show going, E-Boys pick up a stand-in for Game 3. Team Magnus struggled quite a bit in this early game. They let Weaver through the draft, and it picked apart this top lane, completely securing multiple kills. After some time farming, Team Magnus punished a serious overextension by E-Boys and turned this game right back around in their favor. After several back and forths, E-Boys finally get wiped on buyback and eventually tap out, Team Magnus taking the series 2-1.
He's the last one left alive, pops the BKB, but he's just running for his life, and with the bash, that will complete the 5-man wipe.
We move on to the middle of the week, and Wednesday we have Wildcard Gaming versus Undying and 4 Zoomers versus Black and Yellow, an upper division doubleheader. Now in game number 1 of our first series, it looked pretty good for Undying, I don't want to lie. The draft favored them in all 3 lanes. They end up taking over the map super early with this offlane Beastmaster while simultaneously defending all of their towers thanks to the Treant Protector. It was a slow and steady win for Undying, but as soon as they hit the base, they just run all over Wildcard. Undying took a very quick game number 1 with Tomato wrapping it up in a rampage on his Morphling. Searing Chains to follow, they get the Void Spirit, 3 dead inside the base, making a rampage for Tomato. Now game 2 went slightly better in the lanes for Wildcard, but Tomato once again got off to another fantastic start on his Luna. He reached an unbelievable 10,000 net worth by the 15-minute mark. I've literally never seen this before. And Brawl started to pop off as well on his Storm, finding some big kills with his early Orchid reveal. And Undying hit an even bigger power spike in the mid game and really put the pressure on Wildcard thanks to Tomato's BKB. And just as in the previous game, Undying overwhelmed Wildcard on the high ground, clearing out this game in a quick 2-0. They don't have any left. There's no damage left. Like Yamsun, he's fully strength morphed, and it's just Tomato with the rest of the team trying to just beat him down. Now, as we move on to 4 Zoomers versus Black and Yellow, game 1, the lanes drew very evenly. The Zoomers came out slightly ahead, but thanks to some really good fights early on by Black and Yellow, they were able to pull it back. And Black and Yellow continued this aggression into the mid game, winning nearly every single engagement. This put their faceless Void at the top of the net worth in a really commanding spot. And it didn't feel like the 4 Zoomers really had any ways to secure the late game as well, and end up falling in a surprising upset here to Black and Yellow in game number 1. Can follow up with a Hex, they got him, he's dead, no buyback available. Moo also stuck, gotta fall, the GG comes out. Now game number 2, there was no better way to start than a last pick Timbersaw for Moo. We all remember. We didn't have a lot of action in the lanes, but 4 Zoomers really managed to take an early lead of 4-0 and 4,000 gold advantage by 10 minutes. Continued to snowball one way for the Zoomers as Sven became too swole to control. He chopped right through the entire Black and Yellow lineup and closed out game 2 with an ultra kill, forcing a game 3. GG comes out. There it is, 4 Zoomers, force a game 3. Costabile wants one more, he gets it, ultra kill. And in this final game of the series, there's a last pick Phantom Assassin for the Zoomers. She absolutely dominated the lane stage and got a really fast Battle Fury timing. Black and Yellow managed to take a couple good fights in the mid game, but they really couldn't keep up with Costabile. He was confident enough to run headfirst into 4 enemy heroes completely alone. And similar to game 2, the 4 Zoomers are way too farmed for Black and Yellow to deal with and clear them out easily in some final fights to secure themselves the series 2-1. 2-minute stun, they get him, he's gonna drop the Doom, but does it matter? Oh wait, he's just dead. Did he just get one-shotted by... Where did he go? Did Costabile just one-shot the Sven? He gets the BKB, Overgrowth. What?
Now that's a lot of damage!
Literally one-shotted, dude! What the fuck is that? that? For Friday, we have a single best of 3 between KBU and Dogchamp in the lower division. Now for game 1, Annihilate was off to an amazing start on his Queen of Pain. KBU seemed to dominate all over the map and even managed to get mega creeps pretty early on. However, they somehow lost their first real fight of the game immediately after doing so. The game continued on for about another 15 minutes as Dogchamp just refused to give up. They won multiple fights, but Dogchamp at this point were just too far behind, and KBU finally pulled things together to secure themselves a game 1 victory. Go ahead and burst down the Lifester, though he does get the Satanic. That one is a dieback as well as they find P1. Aeon is going to protect him for the moment. Lukey doesn't have anything left in the tank. Now in game 2, it was off to an explosive start as Lukey managed to secure 2 dual victories on his Legion commander by just the 8-minute mark. Unfortunately for Dogchamp, that momentum was quickly lost as KBU took some great fights, putting the Terrorblade back on the top of the net worth charts. And just as in game 1, KBU managed to secure mega creeps, but again, lost a fight right after doing so. A slight delay, but KBU managed to march right onto the high ground and end game 2 as well as the series in a solid 2-0. Annihilate finding these extra kills on the backside with the hammer and Stonebank is finally alone. Triple kill for the OD and the GG comes out. We move on to the weekend and have the upper division doubleheader of EG versus Arkosh and Quincy Crew versus 4 Zoomers. And in game 1, EG rounded out their draft with the last pick Invoker for Abed, which is always a treat. But in a surprising turn of events, Arkosh managed to pull back a pretty rough lane stage and even the game out by 15 minutes. This game was surprisingly fun to watch. It went back and forth for quite a while. EG took a sizable lead in the mid game, but then some rat plays by Monkey allowed Arkosh to secure the first lane of barracks. At the end of the day though, EG appeared to just be the stronger team, bouncing back and completely crushing Arkosh in the late game. Nice initiation here onto the Hoodwink, but able to blink on out, and of course the Rupture just ruining Crow's life. They get the Fiend's Grip as well onto the Dawnbreaker, no way to cancel. For game 2, we saw Nightfall putting an absolute beat down on Arkosh. Arkosh decided to pick a Riki, and as someone who loves this hero, I can confirm that this is a very bold pick. Arkosh proceeded to lose pretty much every lane, getting massacred by EG in every single fight, and in a very convincing win, EG closed out the series 2-0 on the back of RTZ's Morphling as he gets a Rampage. Jerax trying to keep him alive, and it's just enough for him to get outside the Fiend's Grip onto the Razor once again. Dude, Jerax on the Bane, just butchering them. In game 1 of Quincy Crew versus 4 Zoomers, we got to see Gunner on his OD that he's been spamming. An early rotation to the bot lane by Quincy Crew gave them an early advantage as they picked up 4 heroes as well as a tower. Some incredible fights in the mid lane as well pushed their advantage even further. And Quincy Crew really finished this game off in style as they ran right through the 4 Zoomers, diving into the fountain, securing a double Rampage for Yawar on his Drow. Wraith King trying to stand his ground. Sonic Wave is going to pick up the IO. That's going to be a dieback. Moo's going to come back into the game, but Coastabile able to blink away. We got some really creative drafts in game 2, which led to the classic mid matchup of Doom versus Spirit Breaker. Both teams took the farming route, so there wasn't a lot of action early on. Things started to really heat up as the 4 Zoomers grouped around the Medusa. Quincy Crew trying to take a fight, but it backfired hard as they get completely wiped. From this point on, 4 Zoomers had nothing standing in their way as they grabbed a convincing game number 2. The big overgrowth, the 3-man wall charged through, just holding them all into place, and the Zoomers just crush Quincy Crew in game number 2. In game 3, Quincy Crew got off to an early lead in all 3 lanes. They controlled up the map, found several pickoffs. Sven never really got off the ground for the 4 Zoomers as they were just bleeding kills trying to keep these lanes pushed out. At the 20-minute mark, Quincy Crew managed to accrue an 11,000 net worth advantage. Fight after fight go the way of Quincy Crew as they close this game out 2-1 in a very convincing 3rd game.
Get the kill on Z-Freak though, using that arena. Got the Fiend's Grip, they're gonna hold Coastabile into place and they'll find that kill.
For the last day of the week, we have 5-Rat 4-Staff versus the Cut and Team Magnus versus Felt. In game 1, the Cut managed to get one of their favorite heroes, SMD's Bristleback. However, it got shut down pretty heavily in the lanes by Tingle King's Night Stalker. The Cut ended up hitting a huge power spike in the mid game as SMD finished up some big items, and it was clear that there was no way 5-Rat 4-Staff was gonna stop him. The Bristleback found a DD rune and cleaned up big inside the enemy base, securing game 1 for the Cut. Plays in Scourge, bobs his own, just gonna beat him down. Kit's gonna get caught with that Sunder, but the damage from this Bristleback is too much as he just runs him down. In game 2, we were off to a really slow start. And Cut took a slight lead around the map, but net worth stayed fairly even for the first 30 minutes of the game. 5-Rat 4-Staff took a great fight in the mid lane that transitioned into the second Roshan. From this, we saw the first lead of the game finally go their way. 5-Rat 4-Staff closed out the game with a sick double ravage from Tingle King, while the Medusa knocked down all of the Cut with ease. And the BKB gonna protect her as she just chews right through the Luna. 4 dead, make it 5, triple kill for the Medusa. In game 3, we saw a very strong lane stage from the Cut. For the third game in a row, DNM dominated his lane and held the top net worth position from the offlane. The Cut took some great early game fights, and DNM really showed the strength of his Night Stalker as he ran down every single hero one by one. Despite a huge net worth advantage, the Cut could not close this game out. 5-Rat 4-Staff managed to delay until the 50-minute mark when the Cut finally overpowered them and took the series 2-1. He's got the BKB and Italiano Gangster caught by the Rupture. The Abyssal Blade comes down. Mortimer Kisses are there. He's trying to keep himself alive, but Italiano Gangster, he finally goes down. In game 1 of Team Magnus versus Felt, I really liked the draft from both teams. We got a taste of something new. Jack got to play his Drow, and Felt got a lot of their comfort heroes. Team Magnus were taking control of the map, but a really solid defense near the bottom tier 2 tower put Felt back on top. They started to snowball after this point, grabbing Roshan and several more kills. Felt pushed their net worth advantage for another 15 minutes and close out game number 1 with a strong performance from the Wraith King. Goes down to the backside, nice Arena Spear, holding Wraith King in place, but another beautiful halberd. Well done, and Jack just gonna go down, nothing he can do. We had a much slower start to game number 2. Felt managed to pick up quite a bit of farm on their cores, but Jack on the Terrorblade was always ahead. Felt never gave up though, as they had some amazing high ground defenses. This game ended up being one of the most intense games of the week, and I highly recommend checking out the full VOD if you can. After a ton of intense fights and endless buybacks, Team Magnus overwhelmed Felt at the throne, securing game 2 with a double rampage on the Terrorblade. And I'm not kidding, go back and watch the whole game, it was incredible. Matches him up, another time lapse, back to low, triple kill, making an ultra. He's finally done it. Jack ends the game on a rampage. In game 3, Team Magnus was off to a really good start. The Luna had a lot of farm, and the team managed to find quite a few kills. In a surprising turn of events though, Felt won 3 fights in a row, catapulting themselves to a commanding lead. The Medusa became way too strong for Team Magnus to deal with. Felt secured Mega Creeps and the series soon after in a 2-1 victory, rounding out the DPC for this week.
Medusa's back, so they won't be able to kill. A tidal wave actually drags the Faceless Boy towards the Medusa. Down for the count without buyback, followed in by the Tusk. That's it. There has to be no other options.
That's it. We did it. Week 1 of the NADPC is finally under wraps, and I have to say, I am so excited for what this season is going to bring us. We have new storylines being forged. Some incredible Dota is going to be played. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching the video. I really do hope you liked it. And again, if you want to watch any of this stuff live, head on over to my Twitch. Description has the links down there. And yeah, as always, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.